Okay, so today we are talking all things Maui, Hawaii, and what it's like for us West Coasters in California to relocate there or possibly buy investment properties. So, Tom, thank you so much for being here today. Tell everyone where you are.
I'm in Maui, Hawaii. I think it's the most beautiful place in the world. And maybe I'm biased, but it sort of sucks that the weather's 82 degrees every day of the year here. But
Shame.
I can deal with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, notice the skin color difference. You are far tanner than I am. So clearly you see more sun than I do.
Yeah, and I'm happy about that too. So
Yes. So tell me a little bit more about who's moving. What are the trends in Maui right now? Who's moving there and who's putting money into property there?
so the vast majority of our clients come from the West Coast USA, West Coast Canada. Um, Tons of people from the Bay Area, tons from uh, Orange County, LA, San Diego, Seattle, and then it goes inland a little bit, Vegas, Colorado. We've got a lot of people coming in. The demographics, there's the 40s, 50-year olds, and we've got a couple different markets that we really cater to. We cater to the people that are coming in looking to invest and buy a second home that they can do as a vacation rental, an Airbnb, a VRBO, that style of property. And in Maui, it's really cool. We have about, I don't know, 8,000 properties that you can buy that can do vacation rentals on a daily basis and it be legal. And that's one of the things. Each island is a little bit different with their zoning ordinances. So it's not like, oh, you can do this everywhere in Hawaii. In Maui, it's predominantly condos. So that's one segment, and that's that Airbnb market, that investor buyer second home. And then there's the more the true second home buyer who says, I don't want anybody sleeping in my bed. Um, I want to just buy it and have it there when I want to come over and use it. Let my friends come and use it, but I don't want to deal with rentals because it can be a pain in the butt. And so we have that segment of the market, and those buyers buy both condos, houses, either or. And there's two different kinds of condos in Maui. We have vacation rentable condos or short-term rental condos, and we have long-term, which are 6 months minimum rentals. So a lot of the second home buyers will come over when they say, I don't want to rent, they'll buy that long-term residential condo, as we call it, because they don't want to deal with the transient nature of people moving in and moving out, because it's a little bit of a nuisance if you're spending extended periods of time here. And then we have the people who are just saying, I'm done. I don't want to live wherever I live anymore. That was me 22 years ago. um, excuse me. I'm just going to pack it up and move. I moved 22 years ago with a 3-month-old and a 6-year-old and said, I don't want to be in the Midwest anymore. And so that's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, that's a big change.
Yeah, it's a huge change, but it's been amazing. And Krista, what's interesting though is in the last, the pandemic, post-pandemic, what we've experienced is sort of a reset of our market. And a couple of things that I mean by that is, one is all of a sudden that second homeowner who was having a hard time justifying and rationalizing owning a house that they were only using for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, who works for big tech or corporate, that they got permission to work from home. Now all of a sudden we're seeing these buyers come in and say, well, geez, if I can use it for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, work from home, be done with work by 2 o'clock, and then go and enjoy the beauty of Maui. It's really reset our market, and it's been really fascinating to see how that's impacting our pricing, our consumers, the people that are here. It's just really been an interesting impact. So.
And that was going to be one of my questions to you is how that's impacting the market and how much you've seen an increase over the past few years, especially with the uptick of working from home and relocation. And also, what do the locals think about all of this?
So, the reference locals. So most of Maui is really receptive. When I moved here, people were lovely. There's different segments of the island that are more like South Maui, where I live, Kihei, Wailea, Makana. It's very much like California. I mean, there's a lot of immigrants from the U.S. I mean, we're all in the U.S., but a lot of immigrants from the mainland into
Mainland,
Hawaii.
yeah.
And they land a lot of times in South Maui, West Maui, and a little bit up country. Up country is Kula, Wailuku, or Kula, um, Pukalani, Makawao. And then central is more the business district, and that's where a lot of our more long-term, born and raised here folks are. There's quite a bit in the Kihei and the west and the south side. But so it's been most of the times everybody's well received. You know, if you're a jerk and you come here and, and then you want to change the way the world goes here, you know, the island will chew you up and spit you out. But if you come here and embrace the culture, you're very welcome.
Yeah, and respect it. I think that's something that I've learned in our many family trips to Maui is that you go there, but you also respect what people do culturally there, and you respect and honor the environment there. And, that's so important to that culture, and learning about it and making sure that you're part of it and you're adding to it, not taking away, I think is such an important message.
It sure is. And I think when people who get the bug, that spirit, that aloha spirit of Maui, when they get that, they come here with that understanding. I mean, people talk about the aloha spirit. It's like, oh, and they don't quite understand. But you get the aloha spirit from haoles, people that immigrate, and you get this aloha spirit from the local long-term family-owned the families that have been here. And the aloha spirit is what I've come to realize. 22 years ago when I moved here, I went back to Chicago for a convention, and I had so many people come up to me and they said, "Wow, I could never do that." And I looked at them, I thought, no, you choose not to. You can. And that evolved into a thought of Maui is the most beautiful thing about Maui. I moved here for the weather. I stay for the people. The most beautiful thing about it is we are this melting pot of positive people. And someday I will write a book about the melting pot is half full, because the people who can't don't, but all the people who can do. And so the people that move here have exude this positive attitude, and it's so wonderful and loving. And so we embrace when somebody comes here, because it's this positive melting pot. They embrace everybody who comes here. And so it's hard to explain, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and for anyone watching, and if you have not been to Maui, you have to experience it at least once in your lifetime, if not once a year, which is what we try to do. But there's something about it. And there's something about when you arrive there, it's addicting. You want to go back. You want to have that feeling again. And I mean, I'm a very high strung person. And every time I go there, I just slow down. And there's something about that. It's incredible and it's magical. And I will say also, every time we go there, what do? We go to Zillow. We sit in our lovely timeshare or our lovely hotel room and we look at listings because we always have the dream of buying an investment property there, right? And what I've noticed is, and that was another question for you, but what I've noticed is over the years, we've been going since my son was 6 months old as a family, and now he's 10. So over those years, the price point has changed. And boy, do we kick ourselves. Yeah, we really, really kick ourselves. One of our favorite resorts is Hanuakai. So it happens to be in Kaanapali, and it happens to be one of those places that's half hotel, half owned properties. I don't know if there's a word for that, but that's just what I know. But man, those prices have changed dramatically since we started looking at in 2012.
Well, you know what I will tell you, Christa, is if you would have been coming here for 20 years, the prices would have been even lower. So
yeah,
the market always moves. And I will tell people, if they're thinking, oh, I missed an opportunity, maybe a little bit, but just know that there's still opportunity going forward. And, I don't sell real estate. I really don't. I sell lifestyle. I sell
absolutely.
the ability to be in a place where you want to be, have the place to have an opportunity to create a legacy property for your family, if that's what's important, and create moments and time and cherish those opportunities with your family on a regular basis. All that while having a vehicle to build wealth. And so that's what's beautiful about it. Is it the best investment from a pure financial perspective on a daily return? Maybe not. But I was always born and raised to appreciate life for all things, not just money. And it's been the most amazing journey that I've ever experienced. I moved when I was 40 years old. So I don't know how old you are, Christa, but there's still time, I'm guessing.
I'm 40, Tom.
Well, come
Look at
on
that.
out. Look at that.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, I think you're absolutely correct. And I wonder, and I hope you can shed a little bit of light on this, but I wonder what the true attraction is besides, convenience and locality, but why are so many people specifically moving from the West Coast and even more specifically from California? Because I hear more and more of my clients who already own a property there and they're going to retire there and they're selling their house locally in Silicon Valley, or they're intending to buy property out there. So, what do you think the biggest draw is moving from California or investing into Maui from California?
So I think honestly, the initial thing is it truly is 82 degrees every day of the year here, plus or minus 7 degrees. Really hot for us is 89, and really
Yeah.
cold for us is 75. And so that's the first hook. It's like, oh my gosh. And we do not have humidity like some of our other fellow states, like Florida, uh, uh, deep south of Texas, where it gets really humid. We don't have that here. There's a couple months, September and October, but for the most part, we have these amazing trade winds that sort of really, keep our air comfortable. And so that's the first
Yeah.
thing. The other thing I think is truly the people. When we talked earlier about that, when you get here, most people feel so welcomed and embraced. There's something that is really positive about that. And I think the other thing especially for the West Coast, our time doesn't change, yours does, but we're only 2 hours in the winter and 3 hours in the summer difference. So a lot of people, in the past 3 years have now relocated here on a full or part-time basis and can work from home. Um, and it's to the Bay Area. It's 4.5, about 5 hours to San Francisco. I make the flight once a month. So it's really easy. San Diego, there's direct flights. LA, there's direct flights. Seattle, there's
Yeah.
direct flights. So it makes it really simple for people to get back and forth. So if they're working from home, they can be back for a meeting for a week and then turn around and flip back to Maui. So there's so much, and it's beautiful. I mean, it truly is. I still drive down the street and I stop in awe after 22 years for a sunset that makes me cry, or
Yeah.
to watch this massive mammal of a whale jumping out of the water at, I don't know, 100 tons and just catapulting himself out of the water. And it's just crazy. And it still to this day, I don't get bored. It's just so amazing. And I don't know of any place else in the world that I've ever been that gives me that sense of beauty and glory and all of that like I get here. Sorry for being
Yeah. And
on a
it's,
plate.
no, it's okay. I mean, it paints such a beautiful picture and it's so absolutely true. And, I think that the outdoor lifestyle lends to the West Coast and lends to Californians really well as well, right? So,
Absolutely.
I mean, you can do outdoor activities 365 days a year in Hawaii and in Maui specifically. And I think that that's really important for someone that is relocating there from the West Coast because we have a very similar lifestyle here, right? So, I mean, I'm not comparing the two. Maui will always win, but California, we're pretty acclimated to the idea of we can go outside and go hiking pretty much every day, and we can go outside and go to the ocean and surf. Well, not me specifically, but a lot of people can do that. And there's that lifestyle and it feeds perfectly into the idea of Maui. I mean, it's such an incredible place, and I'm very grateful that it's our 5 hour journey and it's so easy to get to. Now let's talk about a little bit more of the normal life of Maui, because, you know, I have a lot of family and friends that live on the island. And so we see the more quote unquote normal lifestyle, right? I mean, you go to work, you go to school. There is a reality there. It's not just tourism. So speak to that a little bit in the sense of if someone was moving there, either relocating there and working remotely or retiring there, what is that lifestyle, and can you escape the tourism a little
Great question. And yes, so the lifestyle. So first of all, there's about 130, 140,000 people per 130, 40,000 population on the island of Maui. So I was at a restaurant yesterday in the middle of, South Kihei, and it's a restaurant where every time I go in there, if there's more than 4 tables, I know somebody else that's in there. So you do have a community, a sense of community. Um, I'm a fan of South Maui because it's a little less touristy than West Maui. And I would say to somebody, if you're planning on moving here, I mean, like all in, I'm moving, figure out what's important to you. Do you want to be at the beach? Do you want cooler weather? Do you want to be where it rains a little bit? Um, we have all of those things. Do you want to be able to go out to bars and party all night? Do you want to be out just go to some nice restaurants that are close by? There's different parts of our market that have that. Or do you want to be out in a rainforest? Any one of those things, you know, we can find for you. It's just being understanding what's important. I know when I moved out here, before I moved here, we came and spent 2 weeks, and I knew I was going to be selling real estate, and I knew I wanted to work in the resort market. So we spent a week on the west side and a week on the south side, because we wanted to really go there here and be like locals. And we spent the first week on the south side. We went to the west side, and after 3 days, we were driving back to the south side because it's what appealed to me and my wife. Other people go to the west side. If you love to surf, you want to be on the west side. That's just those things to know. But you don't know that because when you just come here on a vacation for 2 weeks, every place on the island is beautiful for 2 weeks. But when you want to live here for 6 months, it's time to start really thinking about what's important to you. And different people have different things. If you want to have horses, you want to be up country. It's just all of those things that I will say. I live about a block from the beach, and this year I've been to the beach twice. So it's not like we're going there, but I see it all.
But it's knowing it's there.
But it's knowing it's there, and it's the weather is what was really big for me. I came out of, again, the Midwest where February was 20 degrees below zero, and I don't ever want to do that again. But it's just really the lifestyle and how you live here gets a little bit different. If you're working when you're here, I sell real estate, obviously. I wear aloha shirts, shorts, and slippers. We don't call them flip-flops. If you just one little tip, if you come to Maui, don't say, "Where's my flip-flops?" That's a dead giveaway that you're a tourist, and people will laugh at you. You wear slippers, and there's no R. It's SLIPAS, slippers. But it's a really much more casual experience. You will almost never see anybody in a suit and tie. You go to the attorney's offices, you go to those places, they do not. I mean, it's that kind of lifestyle. You go to Oahu, and they're wearing suit and tie. That's
very different.
Just understanding. And I would say if you wanted to move to the islands, you say, "I'm going to do this." Take a bigger step back and say, "Okay, do I want to move to Maui, or the Big Island, or Kauai, or Oahu, or Molokai?" And explore that too. For us, for my wife and myself, we wanted a bit of lifestyle, and we wanted a bit of activity, and we wanted a bit of beauty. And Maui was sort of, we call it the Goldilocks Island. It's not too big and it's not too small. It's just right.
Yeah.
And we've experienced that for, again, over 20 years. And we've lived within a 1 mile radius for the 22 years that we've lived here because we just
love that.
South Maui. And we've thought about going up country, and we never thought about going west, but we've thought about going up country. But we've not done that yet, but we might. So
Kihei's next on our list. So I keep saying I'm going to go to a different island, and then we always end up in Maui because it's one of the best spots in my own opinion as well.
Yeah.
So,
and if somebody wants to know more about it, if somebody wants to really dive in, I mean, where it's more detailed, Christa, just reach out to Christa. She'll connect us, and I can sort of give you the overview. And, you know, and there's some people who go to the Big Island because that's better for them. It's, again, it's what's right for you.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, the investor space. So when someone is buying an investment property there, is it most likely to be sight unseen? Are they coming out and staying there and then deciding to do something like a rental? Or what is your experience? Because I know you are in the resorts market.
So I've been here for 22 years, and I've been selling sight unseen for, I've sold property as far as 21 years ago. In fact, I still have a client I've never met who still owns the property that I sold it to him. And I with at that point, it was photographs. And I've done video, but pre or post pandemic and post pandemic, I went from doing about one sight unseen transaction a year to, in during the middle of the pandemic, I think I did $29 million in sales, sight unseen. Meaning
Yeah.
I would go out, do video, walk the property, take pictures, and send it to them. Now, one of the more common sight unseen processes that we go through, I'll meet somebody here on the island. I was out with somebody yesterday, and they said, I just want to make a contact with you and make sure I like you. It's like, cool, I get that. I want to make sure I like you too. But
Yeah.
so we went out and we did what I call a nickel tour. And that's where I go out and I show them, we talk about, what do you want? Can you afford? What's important? I distill that down into the handful, 6, 8, 10 different condominium complexes or neighborhoods. Drive them around, show them the different neighborhoods. Hopefully, show them 1 or 2 or 3 condos or houses, and then just talk to them and engage with them to figure out what it is. Now, once I do that, when the right if we don't find the right property at that moment, which it doesn't happen very often, what I do and have the ability to know is okay, I now have this read on what my client wants. When I'm showing property, when I'm going through Caravan, I'll walk in the property. It's like, boom, this is exactly what Rebecca wants. I'll get on the phone, I'll do a video, I'll call her and say, I just found the property for you. We go under contract. They jump on a plane, within the 12 to 18-day inspection period, approve the purchase, and off we go. And I do that. I've been doing that for many, many years. And so people say, oh, it's so hard. It's like, no, just get a relationship. And whether it's me or not, it doesn't matter. But create a relationship with an agent. Just don't go to Realtor.com or Zillow and find somebody who's paying to be there. Now, I pay to be on one of those. I pay to be on Realtor.com. But don't just reach out to Christa and say, hey, I want to buy a property in Maui, or I want to buy a property in Vail, or wherever that resort market might be. It might not be Maui. It might not be your jam. It might be a skier. But what I do know is Christa knows some of the best agents in the country in all of those resort markets. Rely on her to find you a great agent. Tim Harland up in where was we were just talking? Jackson Hole. There's so many different places that are amazing. And I would recommend that you buy several resort properties.
Absolutely.
Because it's a great opportunity.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? And
Absolutely.
that's the key. Now, speaking on that topic again, what areas would you advise right now to invest in Maui? What are some of your top? So let's say I'm moving, or I'm putting some money into that area and I want an investment property. What would be the first area you would think of and mention?
So when you're saying an investment property, are you saying in the property that you want to do for renting out? So there's only 2 markets on the whole island that really are solid for Airbnb. And that would be South Maui, which would be Kihei, Wailea, and Makena. And then West Maui, which would be Lahaina, Kaanapali, Kahana, Kapalua, Honuakai, or Ho'omua, is. And so those are the 2 resort districts. And then there's one little area called Ma'alaya that's in between, and that's right on the harbor. I'm not a big fan of Ma'alaya. Anybody who's out there that owns one, sorry. I think it's in the middle of everything, but not close to anything. I love Kihei. So Kihei is a great market right now. There's inventory is tough to come by. So when things are coming out, I see that prices, our inventory is low and the prices are still, we're still in multiple offer situations. Getting over $1 million, that's under $1 million. Getting over $1 million, there tends to be a little bit more availability. And then on the west side, it's very similar pricing. The difference between the west side and the south side, and I'm a south side guy, so I'm biased. The west side is many more high rises, many more people, more more cruise ships. It's a lot more dense population. So if you're just buying for Airbnb, either one of them are fine. If you're buying for Airbnb and I want to spend 3 months or more out here, then I really encourage you to look south, because south, the lifestyle is a little bit more, a little less touristy. You're 20 minutes to the airport, 20 minutes to the hospital, 20 minutes to Walmart, 20 minutes to Costco, and 20 minutes to Home Depot. All the things that when you are here for 2 weeks, you don't care about, but when you're here for 2 months, become really relevant. When you're on the west side, it's 45 minutes to all those things, and there's only one road. And if the road gets blocked by a fire or a traffic accident, it's hours. So just something to be aware of on those kinds of things. So that's what I say. A lot of times when I have that first consultation with people, it's like, well, what's important? They say, well, I'm an avid surfer. You know what? You want to go to the west side. That's where the surf rocks. So it's just, again, what do you choose? But if I was buying a vacation rental, it'd be in, right now, Kihei or Wailea, and price point wise, and then probably Kaanapali, Kahana are the really hot spots in the west side.
Okay. And then if someone is, I don't know how much you deal with this, because it sounds like a lot of yours is the resort style, but are people moving there and having employment that is local? Obviously people are, right? Or they're relocating to different parts of the island. So tell me a little bit more about the job market, because this is something I have no idea about.
If you're a doctor right now, we have a solid need for doctors, healthcare. You can come here and probably get a job in about 2 minutes. I work with the hospitals and the healthcare providers trying to help getting doctors over here. So I do work that market as well. There's definitely opportunity if you're in the service industry, servers, chefs, bartenders. The challenge with that, and that is probably one of the negative things that I will say about Maui, is that housing has gotten expensive, and unfortunately our county government, in my opinion, hasn't done a great job with managing it. They're working on it, but it's been a bit of a challenge. So we have restaurants that are not open. They'll close a day a week because they weren't able to get the staffing. So that is one thing to be prepared. Rents are high if you're coming over here and not buying. The solution to that is if you can afford to buy something we have what we call ohanas here, would be similar to a casita, where it's a big house and a small cottage or a small apartment connected that they'll cut out of the house, and you can rent those out. And so that's another alternative path to buy something. A lot of my clients, when they're toying with moving here, but they'll say, well, I want to buy a place, but I want to retire in 3, 4, 5 years. So what I will often encourage them to do is buy a house in an ohana. Say, look, rent the main house, get $5,000-$6,000 for the main house, keep the ohana vacant, back and forth into the ohana, and then when you move here, you flip that around. You move into the main house when you're full-time, and you rent that ohana out and create that rental income to help subsidize the cost of ownership. So I have several of my clients that have done that, and it really works well. And it really works well for that person that's looking at, I want to retire, I want to buy now because I'm in my earning years, I can get a loan right now, and I can buy something that I want, but I'm not ready to move there, and they don't want to have it sit vacant, but yet they want to use it. So that sort of house ohana is a great way to make all of that happen.
I love that. And what price point would you say, or price range would something like that be in our current market?
In our current market, to buy a house with an ohana, you're probably starting at about $1.2 million.
Okay.
We can still
and about the size, what would that typically
so that would get us
be?
Probably about a 1,700-1,800 square foot house with a probably 500 square foot ohana. Now,
Got
we
it.
can go up higher. We can, like, there's a neighborhood called Maui Meadows where they have half an acre lots, they're big houses, and then they'll have a cottage. And it is Maui. There are bootleg, like, I don't know what you guys have in your market, but we have bootleg ohanas, meaning you'll have a house and then they'll put an ohana under the house and then they'll have a cottage. Now it's not legal and you have to go in with your eyes wide open, but we have such a housing challenge here. If
Shortage.
you're
Yeah.
renting those places out long term, so the county is sort of just, unless they get a complaint, they're not out looking for people. And I don't recommend. There's a bit of risk. Uh, you have to have a little bit of risk tolerance for that. But
Of
when I
course.
sell those, there's a lot of disclosure that happens, um, and you just need to be respectful to your neighbors. But that's an alternative path as well. So.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. And then as far as the condo space, just from sheer price point again, I mean, what are people typically spending? We could say, a two to three bedroom condo or whatever the average is for you.
So
And I mean, I know it varies by area.
right. So an entry level 2 bedroom
Mhm.
condo. So let's say somebody wants to come over here, a school teacher, nurse, you know, highly skilled service employee. They can come over here and buy a 2 bedroom, 1.5 or 2 bath entry level condo with parking spaces, no garage. They're probably going to be five or $600,000.
Okay.
So you can get something in it now.
And we're
Now,
talking more inland, not near the
nothing's
ocean as much.
no
Yeah.
a block away from the ocean.
Okay.
So I mean, everything is just sort of this strip. That's
Yeah.
my world is 7 miles long by 3 blocks wide. And that's it. So
Yeah.
everything in like the South Maui market is close to the ocean. Um, some of it's walkable. Some of it's everything is walkable to the ocean. It's the walk back that if it's
Yeah.
uphill. So you just keep that in mind. But it's easy. It's an easy lifestyle. As an agent, a real estate agent, I used to work from 8 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week or 6 days a week. Here, my everybody stops working at 5:30. I mean, we just don't
That's
work
amazing.
at night. So it's a and it's, I'm not saying I won't. If somebody's here or leaving or they need it, we'll do it.
Well, of
But
course.
if I call an agent and say I want to show your property at 7 o'clock, it's like 7 o'clock. Are you nuts? It's like you. So it is a different lifestyle. It is a more casual pace. I know we're in a group together, and there's a lot of agents that are out there crushing it. And I just am, it's like I love where I live. I want to enjoy that too. So I think, and everybody else has the
Absolutely.
same attitude.
It's important to have both angles of it for sure. Now, what is the biggest advice that you would give to someone if they're thinking about investing in or relocating to Maui? What would be your biggest advice right now?
So if you're thinking about investing, I think it's do your research. Um, be sure to find an agent that you resonate with. Like I said, I'd love to be that person, but I might not be, and that's really okay. Really commit to somebody who you've got boots on the ground, who connects with you, who hears what you're saying, and gets it. Because our market at this moment, we do not have a lot of inventory. So you want somebody that is on it, and as soon as that property hits, they can guide you in what it is, and that's for that investment. That under $1 million vacation rental property, it's still a tough market right now, but it's doable. It's not as tough as it was a year ago, but it's definitely doable. If you want to relocate here, I would highly encourage you to jump on a plane, come out here, and spend some time on different parts of the island so you can really explore what it likes to be, what it's like to live in the market. Um, if you and you might say, well, I go to this place and I love vacationing there. I get that, but living here and vacationing here are two different things. And so I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time exploring the other parts of the island, because you may find some amazingly beautiful spots that you didn't know existed because they're not in your tourist book. So that's what I would say.
Well, that leads perfectly to my last question, and that is, can you name a few spots that, maybe not everyone knows about? We don't want to call out any super local spots to draw attention to, but what are some of the spots that you would recommend visiting if someone is going there for vacation or to explore moving there?
So if you're going on vacation, one of the things that I love is Haleakala for sunrise. I mean, it's in all the guidebooks. It's
Yeah.
for me, it's epic. It's just one of the most amazing things. And you have to have a reservation. But what the people don't realize, Haleakala for sunset, you don't need reservations. It is as
Yeah.
epic, and you don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's that sort of that backdoor tip. It's like if you don't feel like getting up early. The other thing, if you're gonna go to Haleakala, if you're coming out here, schedule it on the first day that you arrive. You arrive
Mhm.
on Tuesday, schedule it for Wednesday morning because you're already waking up earlier. So
Yeah.
that's a perfect day to do that. Um,
Great advice.
Whale watch is the other thing. Again, it's in the tour books, and you're asking me for something that people don't know about. But I got to
Yeah.
tell you that going out on a boat doing a whale watch is, again, it's the most beautiful, amazing thing. But the tip on this is book your whale watch first thing in the morning because our seas tend to get a little bit crazy after noon, and they pick up and they get a little bit rougher. So your journey will be a little bit more enjoyable if you go out first thing in the morning.
It's that
Um,
trade win again.
and then the other thing that not a lot of people will talk about, and this is sort of that hidden gem, is hike to the windmills. So everybody, now that we've got windmills on the West Maui Mountain, and there's a hike up to the windmills, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm not in super great shape. I'm not an avid hiker. It's a medium hard hike, so you have to have some degree of physical fitness. But I'm 60 years old and I can do it. Just got to take water with you. You can hike up and over or just hike up and back. I prefer to hike up and back. I think it's more beautiful. And you would find that if you're in Maui and you're heading from basically the airport or the south side, and when you go under or through the tunnel, there's only one tunnel on Maui. When you go through the tunnel heading to Lahaina, about 150 yards to the right, there'll be a pull off. It's a gravel lot, and you park in there, and that's where you would hike up to the windmills. It's about an hour and a half hike, maybe an hour, depending on how fast you hike. And I would recommend you go before the sun rises, and you start your hike up the mountain, and you'll see the sunrise over the mountain. And then you'll hike some more, and then the sun will go down because you get to a different point, and then you'll see the sunrise again. So it's very cool, and it's just beautiful. And then when you get to the windmills, you just turn around and you walk back down. Now there's a way you can go over and leave another car, but it's too much jacking around. So that
I
would
have
be
not done that, so this is now on my list.
yeah. It's just, and there's so many other beautiful places. To the bamboo forest, which is on the way to Hana. A lot of times we'll just go to the bamboo forest, and on one side of the road is the bamboo forest, and on the other side of the road is the eucalyptus forest. And you got to jump fences
Yes.
at both of them. So just know that I'm not telling you to do this, but if you were inclined to trespass, those are two great places.
Yeah, and I'll add the banana bread. I can't remember what the name is, but you may know it. But the banana bread that you kind of pull off and go onto an unknown path on the road to Hana was some of the best banana bread I've ever had in my life. You
There's a
may
lot
know
of
who.
there's a
There
bunch
was
of
one.
aunties. There's a bunch of aunties that sell banana bread on the road
Yeah,
to Hana.
I don't know
Thank
this
you for
one.
that was one other thing. A lot of times my brother, who's a knucklehead, he came out here and he said, I made it to Hana and back in 3 hours. I said, you're a freaking idiot. He said,
No,
that is not the road to Hana is the journey.
it's the
It's not,
journey.
it's the journey. And I would also encourage you guys, if you've been here before, my wife and I, is one of our favorite things to do is we love to go to Hana, get an Airbnb, spend a night or two, and
Oh
enjoy
yeah.
Hana, so that then we drive back. We'll go the back way maybe and stop at there's this another place that nobody will tell you about. There's this boulder beach, and it's all these big smooth boulders that run this beach, and it's on the back road out of Hana, and it's just so cool to be able to see that. And you hear this waves coming in, and they grab these, the boulders the size of bowling balls, and they just grab them and they just roll them down the shore, and then they bring them back up, and you hear this clacking.
Oh, it's
It's
cool.
it's nothing like you've ever heard or seen before. And it's not you're not going to spend 5 hours there, but to spend a half an hour or 45 minutes and just sort of, oh my gosh, it's the most amazing space. So, you know,
Yeah,
so
I
many
think you've done such a good job just describing the essence of Hawaii and Maui. It's just I've never felt so I don't want to say detached from the world, but that's the best way to describe it. Detached from the world, yet connected with everything. And it was just every time we go there, it's just such an incredible feeling. And I love your stories because it brings me right back to that feeling again. So I really appreciate it, Tom. And I know we've gone way over time, but we have two people that love Maui. What are you gonna do?
I love
So
it.
let's wrap this up by telling everyone where they can find you if they want to get in touch, aside from getting in touch with me, and of course I can connect them.
Sure. I'm Tom Tezak. I work with Hawaii Life. I'm a realtor, been here for 22 years, and I would love to help you out. I have a small team. If you want to be someplace that I don't service, I can definitely help you. If it's a market that I don't service at all, I can point you in the right direction with Christa. I would encourage you just to reach out to Christa, and she will connect us because I just want to honor and embrace Christa's efforts in this. So just reach out to Christa, say, hey, I want to talk to that Tom dude from Maui. And if even if it's just you want to know a little bit more about Maui and you're not ready to buy, that is so okay. Or if it's like I don't want to buy, but I want to do it in 4 years, that's okay too. Let's just start that conversation and let's take you on a nickel tour. And I'm really super low key, Krista. I'm not like here, sign here. I want to go and educate first. I want to help people to understand, and if it's right for them, then I'd love to help them. But you know what? We first have to start with the education because it's such a unique and
Absolutely.
beautiful place. So thanks so much for the
Couldn't
opportunity.
agree more.
It's been so much
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. And for those that are watching right now, thank you so much for joining. If you want to see other relocation content, make sure to check out the other videos that I have in this playlist. Tom, thanks again and have a wonderful day. Aloha.
Aloha.